all the switches, and you weren't really told about them. How would that make you feel as a defenseman going in? I know as a winger, as a fourth line guy, sometimes I'd like see a switch up and I'm excited for it because I can only get better players, right? As on the fourth line. But what about these guys? If in fact that is it a smoke screen, or is he legitimately thinking about a complete reboot in the pairings?
I think he's trying to find the best fit for the matchups that he's looking for against the Florida Panthers' top 9. And I don't think Nurse and Kulak have had the best start to this series. Previous series, I thought they played really, really well. Bouchard and Ekholm have been okay. Obviously, Bouchard has been up in the attack and providing offense. And when you cheat for offense, you're going to have some breakdowns. And one thing Darnell Nurse does very well is defend, and he's mobile, and we don't know how Ekholm is feeling. Can he take it? Looked to me like in that last game, he looked a little tired. He looked a little not lackadaisical, but he didn't have the same jump or energy or jam to his game the second half of that hockey game, and then on into the overtimes. So that might play a part in it too, because Evan Bouchard plays a lot, and Darnell Nurse can play those types of minutes. And Klingberg has been very effective. You get the two Swedes together, and then you've got Kulak and Wallman, who played together earlier in the playoffs and played pretty well together. So it gives them a lot of optionality, I think, on the back end for select matchups and who they want to move around. But I think part of it might be if these are the actual pairings. I think one of it is, they want to play Bouchard and Nurse a lot more. So Ekholm couldn't quite match up with being out as long as he was out. That's a lot of minutes to eat up for a guy just coming back in.
So you expect some legit changes back there then, based on what we saw the other day in practice?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Okay.
It would make a lot of sense based on what I saw in Game 2 from Ekholm. And based on the Kulak Nurse pairing, and struggle might be a strong word, but they had some issues. Switching it up, and that's the beauty of their back end right now is they're very versatile. They can move guys around. When you look at their left side, Ekholm and Nurse are defensive defensemen. Bouchard and Klingberg are offensive, so that moving them around makes a lot of sense. Wallman and Kulak, both mobile, both puck movers, both able to jump in the attack. And then you add Stetra as a 7th D. They're pretty mobile and active back there. And I like the optionality of being able to change it up a little bit. Certainly, I don't think it hurts them.
So far, the goaltending hasn't hurt the Oilers either. Do you watch this series with Stu Skinner in mind as like a, oh God, I hope this doesn't bite them sort of thing? Or are you of the belief that, look, he's shown in enough big games that he's solid?
He's made some really good stops
throughout
the course of the playoffs since he came back in against Vegas, then again against Dallas, and even in Game 1 and Game 2, he made a number of good stops. There's been a number of shots that have kind of hit him up in the shoulder area, but he's been very square, and just been big in the net, which I think you want out of your goaltender. He's a big guy. You want him playing big, whereas I think with the Winnipeg Jets 2 series that I watched against the St. Louis and Dallas, Hellebuck was very hunched over and looked very small in the net for a really big guy. And that shows a lack of confidence. In this case, with Skinner being as big as he is and looking big in there, I think that's a positive for the Edmonton Oilers.
I'm going to go kind of against the grain on you on that one, and I'm a firm believer of it's the ones that you don't make you get judged on than the ones that you do make. And I didn't like Marchand's game-winning goal. Leaky, he's there. Maybe the paddle should have been down, maybe it shouldn't, but that one, that's you need that save there.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the difference maker in net. As you know, it's not how many you make; it's when you make them.
Yeah,
and they needed that save in that particular moment, and it was, to your point, it wasn't like he came in unabated with nobody harassing him and had full control. He kind of lost it as he came over to his back end and just looked like he tipped it. I don't know if he didn't have his paddle down. I don't know if it missed his paddle. No, it was leaky. There's no question, Nick. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold out.
Oh, no, he's right there.
I think he's been pretty good.
Yep. No, I agree.
Has he been excellent? No, because if he was excellent, he would have made that save. But he's been really good and above average for what he showed in the first series against LA when he got pulled.
So, you've been in so many of these playoff series. What type of adjustments start to happen after a couple games when you go from home to the road? Well, what are you looking at doing differently as a team?
Well, I think, and Nick can attest to this, sometimes you want to get on the road. Especially in the Stanley Cup Finals. You're away from all the pomp and circumstance. You're away from all the family and all the craziness, and you're at the hotel with your teammates, immersed in preparing for what you need to do and how you need to perform and how you need to execute, and thinking about the subtle changes maybe that the coaching staff's going to put into place, or what you can do if you're a centerman, what you can do on faceoffs better. If you're a defenseman, how can you get the net, use the net, how can you clear for the front of the net, all the little details, all those little intangibles that the casual fan doesn't really pick up on, and those subtle adjustments of the defenseman not standing in the crease or having their feet near the blue paint, but moving up a foot or two so that those cross ice passes from side to side aren't hitting your feet in front of the net. Mm-hmm. I always had a hard and fast rule that I needed to be at least 2 feet outside of the blue paint. If I'm standing there, jostling with an opponent, trying to move him from the front of the net, or take a stick away, what have you. We've seen a lot of pucks go in off defensemen this playoff over the course of what are we at, 80 games or whatever it is, all the way up and down. And there's been a lot of goals scored off defensemen's feet, legs, whatnot. And at this juncture, in this stage of the playoffs and the Stanley Cup Finals, you want to try to negate any small issue like that happening on your watch.
Prongs, just one more quick one for me, as Sammy's telling me we're squeezing a little bit of time here, but I really value your opinion as a top defenseman in the league over many, many years on what Seth Jones is doing right now and where he came from out of Chicago, where he was kind of, his career as a top defenseman was kind of dead and buried over there, and now all of a sudden he's doing what he's doing. And sometimes is it just about putting a guy in a situation to succeed?
Well, I think you're walking into a room that has the winning pedigree and the culture. You don't come in there and try to change them to you. You're going in and you're changing your outlook. You're changing your mentality to